To create a feedback culture, there are 3 core components that should be considered. In this video, we're exploring the third component, which is giving feedback. The ability to give relevant, effective, and well-considered feedback is a skill that every person on the planet should embrace and refine. It's not just an activity reserved for leaders, although you definitely need to lead the way in getting this started. Feedback is something that we can all use as a way of deepening connections, strengthening trust, and improving the world. What I say, one conversation at a time. And giving feedback is one way that you can challenge perspectives and encourage others to see different possibilities. And you can help those that you work with understand how their view of a situation might differ from another person's view, and even consider new ways of thinking and responding and getting along. When you are giving feedback, you too, as the person delivering, has the opportunity to learn through the process. When you consider your own point of view alongside that of the person receiving it, and then expanding your awareness and broadening your own perspective, it has such value. When you broaden perspectives, you can then understand individual expectations and learn to adapt to the different ways that people operate. Similar to seeking feedback and connection, there's also 3 principles to consider when giving feedback. So the first principle is current, which simply means it is recent enough for the receiver to remember the event, how they were behaving, what they were feeling, what they were thinking, and all the other things that were going on for them at that point in time. Current feedback is really useful because how the other person behaves is largely driven by, how they were feeling or what they were thinking at the time. For example, were they already feeling stressed or worried about something that had happened earlier in the day? Or perhaps they'd had a number of, sleepless nights and their energy levels were depleted. These are all really important factors when looking for ways to grow and improve, given that most of the way we behave stems from thoughts and feelings below the surface. They're all connected. So you should aim to give feedback as soon as you can after the event or interaction. In saying that, avoid giving feedback when emotions, either yours or theirs, are heightened because you're unlikely to have an effective conversation. And in these instances, it may even create negative conflict in the process. The second principle is contextual, which is all about understanding the purpose of delivering your message. It's about helping the receiver understand your reason for giving them feedback and using data, logic, and stories that will resonate with them personally. It's about providing a compelling purpose that will encourage them to really be fully present, engaged, and be more curious around the feedback. And the context or the reason should be thought through, and I would suggest even rehearsed prior to the conversation taking place, so you know how you sound. By doing this, you can ensure that your feedback is 100% for them, for the receiver, and not just your opinion or based on how you might be feeling at a particular time. So for example, I might say to you, you highlighted that you wanted to improve your communication skills. And in light of that, I'd like to offer you some feedback that might be helpful. Would that be okay? So you'll notice there's another important step after providing context, and that is to seek permission. By doing that and giving feedback, it's all about building a connection and allowing the receiver to maintain some kind of control over the conversation. You'll appreciate this if you've ever been given unsolicited feedback, that's caused a feeling of surprise, offense, or frustration, and the loss of control that you feel in the moment. Seeking permission is really important. And the third principle is clean, which is the process of getting closer to being on the same page as another person without blurring it in with your own view of the world. So how you interpret things will be different from others. And so by using plain language, you can eliminate some of the points of ambiguity that exist. Providing feedback that is clean is done without assumptions without generalizations or mind reads. Instead, it's specific, it is objective, and it is measurable or observable wherever possible. So an example of feedback that is not clean and probably won't feel nice for another person to receive is something like, the team have concerns about your behaviour. Put in a way that is clean might sound more like, this morning in our team meeting, I asked the group a question. I asked, what would you like to do this month as a social gathering? And I noticed when Ben raised the idea of going bowling that you curled your top lip, you rolled your eyes and you shook your head. You looked down and then leaned over and whispered something to Kate, who was sitting beside you. So that's clean feedback. You might then follow it up with some coaching questions that allow for the receiver to expand their perspective and consider alternative behaviours in the future, and even impacts. So for example, you could ask, tell me what was going on for you when Ben was speaking. Maybe you ask, what impact do you think that your response had on the rest of the team or on Ben who was speaking? How do you think your response aligns with the values that we have in our business? Or what might have been a more resourceful way for you to respond to Ben's comment? So clean feedback allows you to communicate without contamination. It offers new perspectives for the receiver and as a result gives them confidence and the ability to generate new, powerful and useful insights that increase self-awareness and have the ability to change behaviour. Then when you are the one that is giving the feedback, remember that what you know isn't necessarily what the receiver knows. What you see and hear isn't always what they see and hear. And just because it seems super obvious to you doesn't mean that they think the same. These are really important considerations. And even when you think the feedback you're about to give is totally obvious to the other person, remember, you don't know what they're focusing on. They might completely be blind to it. So start with the assumption that they have no idea what's about to come and provide information, i.e. through context, to get them on the same page as you from the very beginning of the conversation. And then remember to take it slow and keep going. Keep practicing with this. You will get better over time. It will start feeling clunky. It will become seamless over time.